Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. Today I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 vs 1 replay cast. It's been a while since I last did one, but you know that usually when I do come back and do a cast at this point, it's because I found a great replay, or what should at least be a great replay here. We've got two great North American players, the first spawning up in the top left-hand side of the map, playing for Team Root. It is JimRising. I believe he's still on Team Root anyway. If he's not, he'll have to forgive me. And spawning down the bottom left, it is the red Terran player playing for Team Storm. It is RuFF. So one of the reasons why I love to cast North American StarCraft is because there's a little bit more give, and the builds sort of are a bit more unpredictable as to how the players play. So we're sort of going to see how it works out. If you guys are familiar with RuFF, sort of a very out there player, can be very cheesy, can be very macro-y, basically does whatever he wants though. And then there's JimRising, who's sort of a solid Zerg player, one of the more solid players from Mexico, as far as I'm aware. So JimRising opening up with what I believe was a gas into quick spawning pool. Not the quickest Ling Rush, however this is a bit more of a safer and a bit of a build that wants to get some damage done, but it's not all in by any means here. JimRising is likely just going to send out one or two Lings across the map to maybe try and get some damage done to RuFF. But interestingly enough, RuFF is walling off on the low ground. This is something that he does, which is not too common for Terran players, but he is going for it, so we're going to see how it works out. Early Lings may be able to get in, but it looks like RuFF is going to complete this wall off. JimRising is moving in with his Overlord here, so he will eventually scout this, but RuFF has this full wall up, so Lings shouldn't be able to get too much done. RuFF is now getting up a reactor here, so sort of standard builds coming into these players. Now, interestingly enough for RuFF, if a player goes for a wall off on the low ground, it's usually because they're going for a quick expo. As a matter of fact, RuFF is going for a one base factory here, so I assume it's going to be for some Hellions, maybe some Cyclone pushes. We're really just going to have to wait and see what he decides to go for, but he is just on one gas right now. Sort of trying to figure out what these two guys are doing here. It's been a while since I casted. Well, it's not been a while since I casted some StarCraft. It's been a while since I did a YouTube video on StarCraft. I've cast a few cups here and there, and those are always on my Twitter that I'm linking out or whatever. So I'm still certainly indulged in StarCraft, I guess here. So RuFF Hellions is his choice here. Possibly going to be going for maybe a very quick one-base Hellbat push. We're going to have to see if he throws down an armory or something like that. But this is more just a bit of an interesting opener that's going to throw JimRising off a bit here. JimRising did get that later hatchery. He got that quick Ling speed here, but it's not really going to get too much done for him. So by setting sort of his macro back a bit and playing it a bit safer, he is going to pay a little bit of a price here. And now we're really going to see how it sort of evolves for these two players in this game. RuFF is getting up an expo. It's not a super late expo, but it's not the quickest in the world, but it's sort of, I guess, on par with the later expansion from JimRising. Now, that Overlord has seen the Hellions coming at a RuFF here, so JimRising throwing down a Roach Warren as a reaction here. Wanting to play it safe, not getting up a quick third base or anything, getting up or spreading his creep and whatnot, so playing it very safe. RuFF not likely going to get much done with these Hellions, but it is looking like he's going to transform this into Hellbats here. It's going to be a Hellbat timing, but I honestly believe that JimRising is going to be very well equipped to deal with this. He went for a fast Roach Warren. He's only got to defend really his natural here, and he's making Lings, he's making Queens. Soon he's going to be able to make a few Roaches, which are exceptional versus Hellbats. So far, though, no Roaches on the production tab. Okay, here's the first two. Now, there is going to be, I believe, about 6 Hellbats, but for now, the RuFF is just scouting around, seeing that there's not much coming out here. He's going to get on top of a Queen with these Hellions. They're just in Hellion mode, though, still. They're going to sort of engage these Lings here. JimRising picking off a Hellion there, so RuFF's really not going to get too much damage done here. He's trying to pick off a Queen, but the Lings are going to come out and save it. And it looks like RuFF may pay the price with these Hellions. So far, 2 of them have been bled off. He's poking in and out. He gets the Queen, but 3 Hellions for a Queen. He did kill off a few Lings, though, so that was sort of worth it. It was a bit of a trade here. JimRising's macro is also set back, and a Terran player on 2 bases is much more happy than a Zerg player. And RuFF is getting into factories here. He's actually making Thors, so most likely expecting a very quick Muta is RuFF here. I assume if you see a Zerg player on 2 bases, it's usually because you're expecting mutas. And JimRising, going up to 4 gases, most likely is going to be heading into towards that mute attack. However, it's a little late, so RuFF going to have these Thor, well, at least a second Thor on the way now. So he's going to have these Thors to go for a push. Well, not a push, but he's going to be able to push away these mutas here when they do come out, as he's very on time with this. Now, these Roaches for JimRising actually went across the map, and now there's actually just a few Hellbats to defend here. I believe these Hellions came back and transferred. This is a bit of an awkward chase here. Now, these Lings may actually get through this wall. RuFF is pulling, though, to deal with this. These Hellions will be able to deal with this, and there's even a Thor coming in to deal with, like, 6 Zerglings. So that supply depot is going to be saved, and RuFF's sort of production shouldn't be too sort of delayed here. He does have to remake that reactor, so that was a little bit of a blow, but he's still going to be able to produce these Thors if he chooses to. And he still is. Now, JimRising knows Thors are Roaches are very good against Thors. They sort of trade well with them. They're not amazing versus them, but they trade well, so there's certainly room for a timing here from JimRising, but for now, the RuFF is actually equal on supply with JimRising. JimRising got up at 3rd base, but it's not saturated, and he's investing in all these Roaches here. So we're going to have to see if he gets anything done in this game. If he doesn't, it's sort of just a poor investment. He's now getting 1-1 on the way, but RuFF already has +1 attack, almost finished here. So really we're just going to see sort of how and where these players butt heads here. I mean, right now we're looking at this. We've got Ravagers coming up for JimRising. Very good with their extra range against Hellbats and Thors, which are slow. Another Overlord moving in. It's sort of just stopped. They're not going all the way in. It's going to see these Thors. The Thors, though, not going to be able to kill it off as they were swapped out of that high-impact payload mode. And now we're seeing siege tanks on the way for RuFF, so he's sort of getting everything you want for a 2-base timing right now. He's going to be able to push in, but the question is, will JimRising sort of be able to intercept this attack, stop it from really getting set up? And we're going to see, will RuFF hit a solid timing right now? That Overlord does move out of the way. It's going to start spreading creep on the 3rd base. RuFF's 3rd is just going up right now, but it seems that RuFF may be able to hit a timing here. He's got these Thors, he's got these tanks, and he's bringing SCVs, so this is going to be sort of a very heavy push he's going for. Only 3 Thors in this army, 3 Thors, 3 tanks, and how many Hellbats? 5 Hellbats, so it's a very strong army. Tanks are very effective versus Roaches, but there's simply going to be a lot of Zerg to intercept this right now, and this is going to be a potential great concave here. RuFF is going to have to be very smart with how he sort of intercepts this, deals with it. This is JimRising right now. He's moving out to deal with this. Sort of forcing the tanks to siege up, buying time right now. The tanks all unsiege, however the Raptors and Roaches, now that they're unsieged, are going to move in again. This Thor eats a bile or two, but it is a Thor, it's got a lot of HP, so these SCVs will be able to repair it. Now once again we see these tanks sieging up, but JimRising just deciding to dive on top of it may have been a bit of a bold move as he eats a few tank and Thor shots, but ultimately he picked off a lot of the firepower in RuFF's army. It's really just these few Thors, and this is a lot of Roaches. They're going to get right on top of the Thors right now. The Thors are all going to go down, the tank shelling away here. But it looks like JimRising has held this attack, and sort of RuFF's going to be in a very tough situation right now. Although maybe I spoke a little bit too soon. These Roaches and Ravagers, their upgrades have just finished, but these Thors are still hanging on very well. It's now 1 siege tank though, but there's many, many more Roaches that are flooding out right now, so RuFF's in a tough situation. JimRising very far ahead on army supply. He's got a better economy right now. RuFF just securing his 3rd base now that he sees this, but he's going to be very tough pressed to really secure it. As JimRising's moving across the map right now, he's going to head in. This tank is shelling away. It's going to be able to pick off these Roaches. This is +2 tanks in a second here, so they'll be able to deal a great bit of damage right now. There's 4 tanks right now. The Ravagers are engaging, but they're just bleeding off. This was a bit of an overstep by JimRising. He let off a significant portion of his army just for a tank there. That Ravager corpse rolling down the hill there. But ultimately, RuFF still is just on 2 bases. He's wanting to get that extra gas right now, but JimRising not in a bad spot right now as he's sort of just pinning RuFF. Now JimRising still is only just droning up. He's securing his 4th base, so he is getting into that scary macro Zerg in which RuFF is going to have to deal with right now. But JimRising, he's got up to that third base. He's finally managed to saturate with that failed attack that RuFF went for. RuFF is even building a missile turret to push away this Overlord. The Overlord just slightly moves. Is that missile turret, is it blocking where the planetary wants to land? Anyway, these roaches are coming up. They're going to pick off the geyser here, eating a tank shot. Holy cow, that tank shot did a lot of damage to that roach here. That is a absurd amount of damage that tank got. Now RuFF is still not going to be able to land. He has to build another missile turret to push this Overlord away. And look at this, JimRising's going to move once again. This Overlord is going to start dropping creep. I believe the command center will be able to land, but that missile turret may actually be in the way there. Now we saw RuFF going for a bit of a run by here. I'm not sure what he got done. I believe he picked off a few drones there. So RuFF has actually killed a decent number of drones, up to 14, but look at this, JimRising just spammed out like another 14 drones there. So it doesn't even matter. RuFF heading up to +3 weapons attack. So this army of RuFF is going to pack such a punch if JimRising decides to attack him. RuFF is now getting up a planetary fortress here. So really we're going to have to see how the next engagement goes down. That's sort of in the tail of this game, just how the first, sort of how the big clashes go. JimRising held the first. Now he's transitioning into 15 mutas. This is where this could simply be checkmate in this game right now. RuFF only has one Thor on the way. He's got 2 Vikings out right now. Well, he's actually got 1 Thor done, so he is going to have a bit of AA here. However, 2 Thors versus 15 mutas, and there's no missile turrets. A missile turret in each base would help RuFF out a great deal. He's got one. He got those that pushed away the Overlord at the third base right now. He's got one in the main, but isn't. Oh, and he actually did get one in the natural. Okay, so RuFF is going to be a little bit prepared for this, but 15 mutas are always going to be able to find room. These Vikings need to be careful, or else the mutas may be able to pick them off right now. But it's also important to keep in mind, these are going to be +3 Thors versus 0 Carapace mutas, and if Thors do anything to mutas, it's when they get the chance, if they can get on top of them, they just get shredded. Oh, RuFF tries to repair that missile turret, but not quite in time. The Vikings are shelling away on some of these mutas. One of the Thor shots goes down. Immediately, 2 mutas have fallen. 2 missile turrets on the way for RuFF here, so he is going to secure this. He's getting towards the 4th base right now. And RuFF is sort of slowly building up in supply, but JimRising is looking very scary. He's getting more and more upgrades. He's going to be on 2-2 soon. He's heading towards the hive. However, RuFF is not in the best situation right now. He's heavily oversaturated on his main base. He needs to transfer those SCVs there to that third base. It's very critical that he does that soon. I guess this main base just quickly mined out right now. RuFF needs to transfer to get that extra income. That is a lot of SCVs that are just sort of chilling out there here. Now, we see these mutas coming in for another angle right now. There is plenty of missile turret stuff though, so they're going to be hard-pressed to maybe be able to get sort of a reactor or a tech lab here and there. There is a Thor, though, that just popped out. Now, RuFF is going to see all these SCVs here. JimRising going to try and pick this off, and he actually is going to get this. All these SCVs are sitting ducks right now. RuFF is going to need to pull them. But right now, RuFF is preoccupied. He's going for Hellbat drops at the main base. He's gone for another Hellbat drop at the 4th base right now, but RuFF is sort of down in supply by a significant amount. He's bled off a large portion of his SCVs. He's forced to lift off his command center. Where are all of RuFF's Thors? They're sort of just sitting there for now. They did not come back to deal with this. And RuFF is actually going to lose the command center there. That's a very big blow. He's now half the supply of JimRising. A large portion of JimRising's supply is in workers. And look at this. These Thors actually shredding these Mutalisks here. Look at that. That's +3 Thors right there. RuFF dropping Mutalisks to save this armory. He starts repairing it immediately. These mutas, though, they're going to come back in. They may be able to get it. No, they're turning around. They're heading towards that base. That RuFF is still not very well saturated. RuFF's even getting up a 4th base, but he certainly doesn't have the SCVs to mine it right now, and JimRising is just happily macroing up. He's going into Hydras and Vipers, and if there's a composition that is well built for dealing with mech, it is Hydra Viper. But right now, JimRising not looking to have too much more time to defend this. As RuFF is moving out, he's got that +3 attack, he's got the 1 armor, and he's simply going to go for it. He's building another planetary fortress. RuFF slowly building more and more SCVs here to build up discount, but for now he's going for a push. It's a bit of an all-in, but this is a very scary army. These tanks, though, cannot be caught off guard. JimRising throwing down Crystal Ball is going to pick off one of the tanks. Actually, no. Sort of spread out there a bit poorly. Hellbats are being chewed off, though, for JimRising. The Thors are moving forward. The Vikings are there, too. But this is a large group of Hydras and Roaches that is starting to build up for JimRising. The tanks are resieging. Trying to get off corrosive files is JimRising, but so far no critical connections right now, and RuFF is sort of moving in. He's trying to choke at JimRising. He's got a few SCVs to repair. The tanks are moving forward, they're receiving, and look at that. Those tanks and Thors simply shred that Roach Hydra army. The 3 tanks there just shredding more and more. However, there is the Vipers here. They get Blinding Clouds off on the Thors here. Most of the Thors are picked off, but there's still these tanks that are not blinded here. And RuFF, while he's taking sort of bad trades and JimRising is remaxing on 21 Roaches, these tanks are still putting out a lot of damage right now. RuFF repairing these Thors, and really needs to land the Vikings to give this army a bit more sort of meat to it, but these tanks siege up, and this is +3 tanks. They're just dealing so much damage, but the Vipers with Blinding Cloud again, they're going to sort of negate all of these tanks right now. They're going to be sort of easy pickings through JimRising, and really that is going to be the tail of RuFF, it looks like, as he's hardly mining back at home. He's producing Cyclones, but GG gets called as JimRising takes the game there. That was a sort of crazy game. That is a North American game right there. It really wasn't standard, but the players sort of went for their own moves to try and take an advantage. And in the end, JimRising won out. RuFF sort of had a bit of a tough time back at home there with his economy. Just trying to, I guess, kill JimRising before he became too scary, and it didn't work out for him. So anyway, if you guys have enjoyed the cast, it's been my first cast in a while, so I hope it hasn't been too sort of rough there. But if you guys do enjoy the cast, feel free to leave a like, feel free to subscribe, as I am periodically putting out casts. Sometimes I'll put out a great deal of casts, sometimes I'll sort of go down on the amount that I release of casts. But I'm always putting out StarCraft 2 content, so I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.